Hey everyone, as most of you know, my name is Sam, and I'm going to be speaking a little bit today about food garnishing and food presentation. By the end of this video, the learners will be able to understand all 6 learning objectives. The learning objectives are that the learners will be able to understand garnishing and how it can change the perception of a meal, properly garnish 3 different meals, understand the different ways to plate food, properly plate a balanced meal with all 3 macronutrients, be able to plate food in an aesthetically pleasing way to increase revenue in the hospital cafe, and be able to provide knowledge to others on the importance of cultural competence. The reason garnishing is so important in food service is because it can really impact the food choices of customers. The initial attraction to food is going to be its visual presentation, then on to the other senses such as smell, taste, and texture. There are different types of garnishes, but in today's video we are going to be focusing on the dry and the fresh herbs since they are easily accessible and have easy techniques when it comes to garnishing. Here are some popular garnishes that can be paired with these specific foods. This article is from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Extension, and not only does it talk about garnishing, but it also incorporates healthy options for the garnish. So right here we have some popular food combinations such as basil paired with pasta and chives and dip, cilantro in Mexican, Asian, or Caribbean cooking, and much more. This article will also be attached to recall back to. There are also so many different ways to chop an herb to change the aesthetic of the plate. Later in the demonstration, we will learn more about chopping garnishes and plating sauces. At the bottom, here are some more examples of how to pair fresh herbs. Here we have some examples of pairing with soups, salads, vegetables, desserts, beverages, protein dishes, fruits, and grains. As you can see, all of these different pictures are full of color and really are aesthetically pleasing to the eye, which is the goal of garnishing. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the different ways that you can plate a food. So the art of plating comes in many different ways, and what the things that you need to pay attention to are shapes. So you have your lines, your arcs, circles, triangles, and even the white space on the plate is very important. So the most common classic type is the triangle, and that's where you have your starch and your vegetable and your protein. So I will be demonstrating this later whenever we talk about our other objective, which is putting, the 3 different macronutrients into a plate. The next way to plate food is called the line and circle. This is the most popular for maybe a dessert or a small plate. The food item tends to be in a circle while the sauce is the garnish in a line. We will show an example later in the demonstration. Next is the single line plating. This is popular for something like sushi or a different appetizer like the photo provided. The circle presentation is more popular for entrees, having the main part of the course in the middle and having the sides underneath. This will also be demonstrated. The arc and line is similar to the circle and line. Instead, the food is more in an arc, and then still the sauce or garnish is in a straight line. Things to keep in mind before viewing the demo. Observe what type of food plating is being done and what type of macronutrients are being used. Observe what type of garnishes are being used. Observe how cultural competence is implemented, and write in your head how challenging it would be for the hospital to implement these objectives. Okay, so the first type of plating that I'm going to be talking about is the line and the circle. And keep in mind, these are little small changes that can be made that can make your plate more aesthetically pleasing. So I understand the hospital, it's busy and, you're trying to get so many plates out to so many patients, but it's important to keep in mind that this is what the patients look forward to every day. So adding a little bit of pizzazz, and it's super easy, to a plate will really make their day. So what I've done so far is I've cut up some bell peppers. So this is an example of a snack. So I've cut up some bell peppers, kind of organized it in a little circle. And so now I'm gonna add a little bit of hummus. And so I'm just gonna take this spoon right here and take the hummus and kind of do it in a little bit of a line and kind of work on that until, you know, there's the correct amount of serving size and it looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So, add that. And then if you end up getting messy, you can always take a paper towel and wipe it. Okay, so the next meal I have is going to be the arc in the line. So this meal is more of an appetizer. I originally wanted to use shrimp, but I didn't have any, so we're using chicken. So as you can see, you have a little bit of the arc, and then you have the line. This is just some spicy mustard to add some flavor. But obviously what we're missing here is some green. So a great way or a great thing to use to garnish is going to be green onions. They are great for flavor, but they're not too much, and they really add what is needed. So you just take a little bit, and all I did was I used this knife, and I just, chopped up into about this big sizes, and you can do it long ways, as we talked about earlier, and kind of, plate them this way, or really it's whatever you're feeling. So here, I'm just going to take them and just kind of put them there and kind of do that. So it really just adds a lot more, it makes it more aesthetically pleasing, and it has that greenery, which is going to catch the eye. And as you can see, I'm using the white plate. So we talked about these earlier. The white plate, you have that white space, and so it's really going to go in on what you're actually eating. Okay, so the next type of plating I'm going to show you is going to be the single line. And in this meal, I have created a meal where it is all 3 macronutrients, and I'm going to show a little bit on how to garnish this meal. So I've already started working on it. So right here we have your carbohydrate, which is, this is whole wheat couscous. And then for the vegetable, I have this asparagus, and then I lined it with some chicken breast. So for, obviously what we're missing here is our fat source, since this is a more leaner chicken. So what I've done to add that fat source and to garnish is I put together some balsamic vinegar and olive oil into a little plastic baggie, and I'm going to cut the end and just drizzle this across, and this will get that fat source in, as well as the how to garnish it. Usually, we talked earlier about, garnishing with a green or an herb. Vinegar is a really great source, so is olive oil. This meal particularly already had that green, so I wanted to add something a little bit different. So I'm going to add that and get back. Okay, so here we have the finished product, and like I said earlier, your paper towel is going to be your best friend. So here I have a little bit, and if I just want to clean that up just a little bit to really make it ready, then that's totally okay. And this is the finished meal. Is going to be the triangle that we talked about. So the triangle is going to be where you have your main course on top. And like we talked about in the objectives, we're going to talk a little bit about cultural competence. So here's what I have so far. This is going to be more of a Mexican dish. So you have your rice, and you have your bell peppers, your fajitas, and I added 2 limes. And so what we're going to add is the chunky salsa, and I'm going to grab some cilantro. So what's important about, cultural competence is being aware of what usually goes with what. So obviously, we're not really going to add, some sauce that's like a peanut sauce that's meant to go with pad thai to finish off this meal. And I think that's really important when it comes to, you're kind of dealing with all kinds of different patients and all kinds of people coming through the cafe. So just being aware of what to use. And so another example would be, if you were making pad thai, you would want that peanut sauce, and then some sesame seeds. Like, you wouldn't put sesame seeds on a Mexican dish. That's more for something like pad thai. So just having that awareness is super important. But I'm gonna go ahead, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to garnish this. So I'm just gonna take this salsa right here, and I'm just gonna, like we did earlier with the balsamic, and just kind of put that, and then I'm gonna dazzle some cilantro. Okay, so here is the final product. So I added that salsa and the cilantro, and it really just has a nice, aesthetic to it, and it looks appetizing. And like I said earlier, I know that working as a food service worker in the hospital, it can be kind of difficult, it can be kind of busy, but it's important to keep in mind, like I said, that this is what the patients look forward to, and this is why we're here. And another thing is, if you have your plate looking more like this, you're going to have more people going down to the cafe and purchasing these meals, which is just going to heighten the revenue for the hospital, and that'll give more funding to the cafe, and that'll be great, so you can add more diverse meals into the hospital. Thank you so much for watching.